job, Dr. Shu. Crazy, huh?
William Penn students, if you could stand and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge.
All right, Mr. Pictionary, roll call, please.
Yep. Mr. Christensen.
Here.
Mrs. Feiss.
Here.
Mrs. Headley.
Here.
Mrs. Hoppy.
Here.
Mrs. Janicek.
Here.
Mr. McGregor.
Here.
Mr. Scalzo.
Here.
Mrs. Turner.
Here.
Mr. Modrak.
Present.
9 present.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to make an announcement. Prior to this meeting, we had an executive session to discuss some legal matters and personnel matters. So at next time, we're going to have recognition of the William Penn recycling team. So, boss was taking lead for that. We back to Mr. Romanowski.
Well, but we also have Penn students giving us the highlights of the year, too. So why don't we start with those folks, Mr. Lanowski?
Students doing the highlights of the year?
Yes, yes.
We have our two fourth grade teachers here, Mrs. Katie Clifford and Miss Jen Sable. They brought some fourth grade students with them.
We have to fix the mic. Yeah,
You didn't say that when you told me.
The students, teachers, and families of William Penn are proud to participate in 2 very important community service projects yearly throughout each holiday season. This year, they are proud to have collected many toys for the KISS 96.1 FM Stuff-A-Bus program. Mrs. Thomas, our reading specialist at William Penn, brought this service project to our school several years ago, and William Penn stepped right up. Over the years, she has continued to be the lead in promoting, setting up the hallway display, and dropping the donations off at the headquarters. The toys are then distributed to local families by the Toys for Tots program the week of Christmas to spread joy throughout the holiday season. The second service project William Penn is proud to support yearly due to Mrs. Serafini's efforts is a collection of daily essentials, which is collected and given to the Women's Shelter of Allegheny County. These donations also provides joy to those less fortunate each holiday season.
Thank you. Very good, very good.
William Penn is proud to run a daily recycling program which is started by Mrs. Litzenberger many years ago. Several students show up early to school to gather papers, materials, and plastic bins in each classroom. These papers are transferred into a bigger bin and then taken to our upper parking lot to be dumped in the giant paper collection bin daily. We are proud to be helping William Penn and the Earth by performing the important daily task.
Thank you.
As my friends in Mrs. Clifford's class just explained, the teachers and students at William Penn do many things to better our school community and help those in need. But today, we are also proud to share one of the reasons why our school continues to do so well academically.
And why we are currently ranked #1 in the school performance profile in the whole area.
I heard about that. Amazing, right?
Indeed. At William Penn, we believe in deep thinking. In math, our teachers help us learn how to focus on the why behind how to solve problems instead of simply getting the right answers. We draw pictures, try multiple strategies, and discuss our reasoning, rather than just focusing on the solution. Ultimately, it helps us become more confident, independent learners.
We also do a lot of error analysis. That's a fancy way of saying we discuss why and how we make mistakes. Teachers at William Penn teach us that we all make mistakes, and discussing why we make certain mistakes helps us understand it's a natural part of learning. It also helps us not to make the same mistakes twice.
At William Penn, we are always looking for ways to better ourselves and our community. Whether we are collecting for a charity or pushing ourselves to be better problem solvers, we are up for the challenge.
I would like to introduce the recycling team, and then I'll finish with their sponsors. So most of them are here, but I'm going to read all their names. These recyclers do this every single day. They go from room to room throughout the building and take the recycling up to the upper parking lot. Quima Banda, Annabelle Brown. Oh, let's have you come up when I call your name. Annabelle Brown. Aurora Canty, Marin Cummings and May Cummings, Riley Freund, Evelyn Gariglio, Avery Gaskeb, Giovanni Hegedus, Eve Piccolino, Gabriella Volpatti, and Vico Volpatti. These students are led by Sid Litzenberger and Sue Thomas. So if you guys could all come up, we could get a picture. Where's Mr. Cromie at? There he is. All right.
And Mr. Lenoski, we have a couple certificates that Mrs. Hopp and
Okay.
Mrs. Headley are going to pass out on behalf of the board to these fine students here. Even are you one here?
Just turn around.
Yeah, just walk right in front of this. Every single day, that's awesome, guys. Sometimes twice a day.
I'd like to see some scalzos in the fourth grade next year around the recycling. Yeah, you told me. Did he have a that seems to be the thing now. That's the third or fourth thing that, do you do it too? I can. I want to see how this plays out first before I jump in. But I'm going to do it. I've never done it. I've done martial arts when I was young. The coach is putting powerful motor to me. No steroids. Good language. Techniques, and a lot of message. Is it just Tommy doing it? The other two couldn't because they were separate. I'm bringing those two next week. So it's a beginner class. I haven't been playing pseudo martial arts inside of us. I'm trying to get good at football. Lots of energy.
One more, big smiles, 3, 2. Awesome, nice job, guys. Congratulations. Yeah, let's do the other guy.
Okay.
Again, thank you to Mr. Lenowski and the staff at William Penn for an excellent job. And what place did they say we're in again?
That would be the #1
Was that number one?
school in Western
We're
Pennsylvania.
number one, right, Sid? Number one. Thank you. And now our audience goes away. Jeez, why don't we do this at the end? Yeah.
That's an idea. Captive audience.
Captive
Right at the
audience.
end, right before public comment.
All right. Just give them a few more seconds. Mr. Puccineri, is it RC's time? Mr. Puccineri, is it RC's time? Okay. All right, this time we have a presentation from our favorite contractor, RC. He's given us a beautiful news on our new elementary school.
Okay, good evening, everybody. So here we go with the update. There's your building as it stands. It even looks now, it's the exciting time about construction now. Every day looks a little bit different. So there's the overall footprint of the building. All the steel is up. You can really get a size of the scale of the building. And that's better. So there's the back of the building showing area E class wing, F class wing. There's the connector bridge, courtyard beyond. Here you see F wing, classroom wing. This is the side that faces NAMS. There's a small entrance there to get into the gymnasium area. So all the exterior framing is up. This is the gymnasium / storm shelter. This was our access point in and out with the cranes and material delivery, so we're plugging up that hole. All the steel is set. We're currently putting roof deck down. The auxiliary gym on the ground floor, all the rough ends are complete. We're done in there for now until we can get the building closed in. Ground floor area A, so this is the primary literacy in the K1 area. Down on the floor, you can see all the framings done there, and the MEP rough ends are ongoing. Ground floor area C, the rough ends are pretty much complete there. Pretty much all the ground floor, the rough ends are complete. Area E, as you can tell by the pictures, the most far along. We have all our rough end inspections, framing inspections ready to go. We're ready to hang board as soon as we could get dried in, which we're racing to do. You can tell by the water on the floor there. So we got to quit the water from coming in, either getting it weather tight or having some favorable weather from Mother Nature. First floor area A, so moving up in the building, you can see the progress there. We're going to start framing there and mechanical rooms there. Even this picture, this is area B in the first floor, kind of where the LGI area and looking into the cafeteria area. We got a lot of this slab on grade either prepped or poured already since this picture was taken last week. This area is right outside the gym, so the gym's over here. This is cafeteria space here, so that slab is poured. Getting all our slabs poured. This is, again, looking into the kitchen, cafeteria, mechanical room space. This is what got poured today. This was last Friday. They were pouring that inside the gym, so the gymnasium floor is poured. That got poured late last week. This area where the health rooms are, this is area D, again, right outside the gymnasium area. First floor, area E. We are continuing, we're getting close to getting all our in-wall rough-in and framing inspections there as well. Area F is not very far behind, so we're racing through there pretty good. This is the second floor area of A. This will be This slab on deck will be poured probably by the end of the week. We're supposed to get some good weather here for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we're going to take advantage of that and get all this poured so we can get the framing up. And again, get the main goal right now through the summer is to get the building closed in and dried in so we can continue with the interior finishes over the winter. Second floor area F is the farthest in progress-wise. It's just the sequence we're running through the building. Area F, we're putting a roof on now. Area E already has the roof on, so we'll do roof on F, then like the A, C, D area across there. So hopefully all that water will be not a problem issue in the very near future. So courtyard, you can see we're getting exterior sheathing up in the courtyard. That's one side. Here's the other. So they're even farther progressed since this picture was taken. So again, upcoming work, we're going to continue to work. F, exterior framing and sheeting. Areas E, A, C, D, and F, interior framing. MEP rough ends. So we're not really slowing down at all, but the main goal is to get it dried in as absolutely as soon as possible. And the big milestone there would be to start drywall as soon as possible. Still successfully safe. We've still got our tally running. And that's all I had for you today.
How much time has been made up since the last time we spoke? And then if whatever...
Well, we did have some weather, so we kind of fought that a little bit. So we probably picked up maybe another week.
Okay, and what is the projected plan to make up the rest of that time?
Yeah, so currently right now, we are working, the project team was tasked with putting together accelerated schedules. We have 2 plans, so we're working now to come with the most efficient, cost-effective way to marry them together. And
Will we get to hear about the plan or know the details
yes,
of the plan?
yes. As soon as we get all the bugs worked out, I want to get everything vetted out properly.
Okay.
Because I don't want to pose a false date.
What about an estimated rough date that we'd be able to see something like that?
Probably next month, but I know you're not meeting. I mean, we could have a separate meeting.
Okay.
I'd be happy to come up and explain it to you. Yeah, we're close. See, Rycon they're the lead contractor, so they're responsible for not scheduling per se, because everyone's a separate private. They lead the coordination of everyone's schedules. So they were asked to put a accelerated schedule together. They did that to successfully show a July 31st completion date or a substantial completion date. I'm in the process now of rectifying that to make sure that they are, not rectifying it, but vetting it, make sure that what we like to call P6 magic. P6 is a scheduling program, so they could hide a lot of things in this schedule, and I just want to make sure everything's working the way it should.
If we don't meet next month, I don't know if we are or not, but if we don't, can you email what you have?
Yeah.
To all 9 of us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
I just want to make sure that we're definitely going to get that done.
Yeah, I feel comfortable we will. Right now, like I said, it's just...
so you can say it to the public, right?
What's that?
That you feel very strong with, that this will be
Yeah, it's
complete.
doable, yes. It's doable to get to that point. Right now, I just want to make sure what Rycon's telling us
Okay.
and giving us is properly backed up.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Anybody else?
RC, on the agenda tonight, we're going to be going over some change orders. And I was just wondering if you could cover these. They're mostly credits, but I think we should just, if you could explain what these are.
Sure, I could run down them. So part of every project, the Macero is the construction management for, we in our specs require the general trades contractor to provide what we call co-location trailer. So they're to provide a trailer complex, whether it's a single or double wide trailer, where representatives, usually the project managers and the superintendents for all the prime contractors are in one trailer. It's more conducive to a teamwork environment. Anyway, we took advantage of the existing house on the site in lieu of that trailer. Number one, when we first started, there was nowhere to put trailers, nowhere to access power, so we just kind of settled in there, and it worked out, and it was working out. So contractors agreed that was working out for them, and so the money's in that contract, mostly for Rycon, and the electrician were removed out of their contract because we're not using that service.
Okay.
So that's the first GC 224 credit for the co-location trailer. GC 25 surface drain along Boyer Avenue at NAMS. In the process of installing the new parking lot at NAMS and adjusting the grades a little bit, an unforeseen condition of some underground water. We're having trouble controlling it. It was unforeseen, and that's what washed away. I don't know if you've been through NAMS parking lot, but that's where the blowout was around the manhole. Water was coming down off that hill and just undermining the pavement at that point. So this is an attempt to solve that. So it's basically just an under surface drain to route the surface and the near surface underground water to the storm sewers. So it's not undermining it anymore. So that's GC 25. EC 005, again, that is Merritt's portion of the co-location trailer that was owed by contract. So we removed that out of their contract. And I don't know if Dan, you want to talk more about this. He's more schooled about this last one than I am. 006, essentially, we changed the way we are routing and supplying power to the firearm system.
Sure. EC 006, we changed the specification on the fire alarm wire. We had some redundancy in the wire that we were running, and so we were able to reduce the grade of the wire, the quality of the wire, without the facility incurring any risk. And so that was a pretty good number for you.
Okay. Quality of the wire or gauge of the wire?
Well, actually, we removed the conduit.
Okay.
So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Good. Any other dialogue? No, we're good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Have a good night. At this time, we are open up for public comments on agenda items. All right, okay. We're going to move on. That being said, we'll move on to Personnel Committee. Mr. McGregor.
Okay, underneath personnel, there are 3 items tonight. Number 1, acceptance of resignations. Number 2, change of assignment. And number 3, approval of professional tuition reimbursement. Any discussions, questions? Hearing none, I'd like to send these 3 to the consent agenda.
Okay. Very good, thank you. Mr. Christensen with Facilities.
Yeah, we just have one item, which is what RC just covered. So if there are no objections, I recommend moving that to the consent agenda.
Very good, so be it. Finance Committee, Mrs. Walsh-Turner.
There are 9 items under the Finance Committee. June salaries and bills, May salary and bills, budgetary transfers, payment for the new K-5 elementary school project, payment for Independence Middle School Phase 3 renovations, payment for Independence Middle School Phase 4 renovations, 25-26 general fund budget resolution, the homestead and farmstead exclusion resolution, and approval of the student services contract. Without objection, I'd move 1 to 6 and 9.
Yeah, I agree. We should hold out the general fund budget resolution and homestead.
Homestead.
Okay, at this time, we're going to move for consent agenda 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hold 7. It'll be a separate vote.
Hold 8.
Hold 8. And then move 9 to student service contract. Okay, Mr. Pictionary? Any other questions or
then-
thoughts?
For the board, information only, financial reports 31, 32, and 39. I just have one question, Mr. Modrak. Is there any way with phases 3 and 4 going on at IMS that SiteLogic could attend before we take a month off?
Doc, can we have SiteLogic here next week?
I will make the request. Yeah, they are coming. I'm sorry. They had a conflict with tonight, so they'll be here next week.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I didn't see any notes, so that's why I asked. I'm finished unless anybody else has any questions.
Okay. All righty. Policy Committee, Mrs. Hoppy.
So tonight we have one item, and this is the first of 3 readings concerning the selection of instructional materials and resources. This mostly has to do with supplemental materials in the classroom.
So this is the one that the board looked at last month. We had pulled it out of the agenda and made some adjustments. We putting it through the readings again. So this is actually the second public reading of that policy. It says first on the agenda, but it actually should say second, because last month, May 27th meeting was the first reading.
I have some questions about it now that I had a chance to read the whole thing. Under the guidelines, not the first numbered set, but the second numbered set, I was just wondering why we removed number 4. As it used to be, instructional materials and resources shall be selected for their strengths rather than rejected for their weaknesses. So I was wondering if there was...
I guess because I didn't know how to explain that to a teacher. Like if I were teaching them about how to follow this policy, how do I explain what that means?
It's a little more nebulous, yes.
It is. I felt like theoretically, they're only putting forward things that have strengths. And so I kind of felt like it was a bit too nebulous.
Okay. I had some more questions.
Go ahead.
Right below it, number 5, we used to have that instructional materials and resources on controversial issues shall be selected to maintain a balanced collection representing various views. But now it seems to be trying to get at each material must be within itself a balance, and we aren't really explaining what a controversial issue is. I mean, like there are some people who
I'm not sure we
think...
want to list it because those things kind of ebb and flow, don't they?
Okay.
What might be safe conversation today might not be safe conversation tomorrow. It ebbs and flows, and so I feel like that one I need to be nebulous because it almost depends on the gestalt, the time period in which that policy is being applied.
And I'm concerned about trying to get to a point where each particular item itself contains both opposing views as opposed to having some that are talking about, I don't know, slavery was not wonderful, and some that may have another view versus only having resources that
Just
within
one.
themselves have both views.
Yeah, so if that were the case, then we should probably revise it to say have multiple views, if not have multiple sources that have multiple views.
Yes, because I sort of feel like that's kind of what it used to say. That it was looking more at the balance of the collection versus...
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
I started thinking maybe I was the only one seeing it that way. Okay. And I mean, I guess that was kind of, there are some things that are, in trying to square that idea of controversial issues and both views with the sections below, they start renumbering in the new red part. Like 4 and 6 particularly are saying that it's unbiased, provides objective viewpoints, and 6, that it's from a source that would be respected in the field of education and vetted for its quality and accuracy. I'm imagining some worst case scenarios of if it's respected as an educational source and it's unbiased and has objective viewpoints, are we going to say that it's still too controversial because someone thinks it's controversial? Do you know what I mean? I want to ensure that we are not ending up in a place where we are limiting access to information that is factual and historic and important because there may be people who believe otherwise. That's what I'm trying to make sure we're not.
I got you.
I don't want to increase the likelihood that we go down that path.
I got what you're saying. I'm not sure I have an answer for that challenge. I mean, what we're trying to accomplish here is to give teachers guidance on how to make these selections appropriate and wisely. What would be the district's, AKA board and the administration's expectations for what goes through your head when you're making these choices? And
yes.
So
ultimately the idea of this is that they can use something one time as a pilot, and if they are concerned about if they should use it, then they should seek guidance from a principal or department facilitator.
Yes.
But after they use it the first time, if they want to continue using it, it must go through the curriculum committee.
correct.
And are the things that teachers are currently using, have they all gone through the curriculum committee? And are we going to have a big, like, special curriculum committee weekend where we are going through all the videos and YouTubes and all the...
So I can't answer for what has not happened or what happened prior to my arrival. We didn't have a curriculum council prior to my arrival, so that's sort of a newer phenomenon. I don't know how those materials were vetted, approved, or not approved in years prior.
Yeah.
But what we're really aiming for here is to give teachers a little bit of trust to make good choices. And if it really worked, and we want to institutionalize it and keep using it, then let's go through the traditional process and give the board the authority to adopt it as a permanent part of our curriculum. We're talking more like movies,
Bless you.
You know, movies and articles, reading articles and so forth. I don't know necessarily that a news clip that happens to be on last night's news is going to end up permanently installed in the curriculum because it worked that night.
Right.
If we're talking about
True.
it in class tomorrow, and I want to use last
True.
night's news. It's that pertinent.
True. I'm
This
thinking
would
more of
give them
like...
that strength of confidence to make those choices.
Yes.
But also, it doesn't give them the ability to pilot that same thing over and over again, if you follow my point.
So once it goes through curriculum committee, does it then become distributed to everyone teaching that course and required that they use it?
Yes.
Or just... I'm just thinking through, there are teachers who have found like good videos that really explain plate shifting, you know, for earth sciences or something, that explained it in a way that worked well for their students at that grade level. I don't know. I don't want to end up somewhere where their choice is to either stop using it or go through the whole curriculum adoption process and fight to keep it so that then everybody has to use it
Let's hope
and
it's not a
lose
fight.
things.
I mean, if it's good
I don't know. Like,
and effective, it's
Okay.
not a fight.
all right.
It's just
I
a
don't want to
process.
squelch the teacher's ability.
Yeah, what we don't want to do, though, is have them kind of devolve into fiefdoms where I like this video and I want my kids to get this video.
True.
Forget about his kids and their
That is-
exposure to it.
that is
If
a fair point.
If it's
Well,
good
or-
and it's worth some kids, we want all kids to have access to it.
Or worse, we've been striving to have consistent outcomes through consistent curriculum, through consistent process, so that you get those consistent and high-level results. I guess my question was going to be, does there need to be a limit on supplemental content that's being used? I mean, is 49% considered supplemental, or, I don't know. But ultimately, it kind of gets to what you're talking about, but from the other side, is how do we make sure that we're going to maintain a consistent approach to education, that not we're stifling the good ideas, but how do we draw those good ideas into the rest of the curriculum, but yet we're going to be confident we're going to have consistent results. Because you look across some of our elementary buildings, we got different results, different processes being used, different techniques, and that's what we're trying to do, is have some consistency.
I think that's sort of the whole spirit behind this policy, is trying to create structures and systems so that we can better ensure that consistency of service and of programming. Again, back to Mrs. Janisek's point, if you have a great video that works really well for instruction, then everybody should know about it.
True.
And we want to put it into the program of study. It's not a fight. Those things typically are really celebrated by the Curriculum Council when you have these kinds of opportunities.
So do they usually, like envisioning this now, if you've got a whole bunch of 6th grade social studies teachers, and there are, 5 different things that they would like to forward from 5 different teachers, does the department facilitator sort through that and meet with them and work out with them? What are we going to put forward to curriculum committee?
Yeah, because the
So
proposals
curriculum
come
committee
from-
doesn't get all of it and have to sort it out themselves?
No, so the proposals come from the department.
Okay.
And are blessed and approved by the department before the council gets to see them.
Okay.
So there is a vetting process that happens at the department level, then the council level.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then it comes to the board.
I feel better about that. I was just imagining this huge, giant, stack of things everyone was going to have to plow through. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it's not that complicated.
It shouldn't be.
Okay.
And I don't want to overthink it. We're missing guardrails. I want to give them some guardrails, procedures to sort of support philosophically where we want to be as a district with curriculum.
Okay. Thank you.
Just-
I appreciate
just
the
as long as
conversation.
More flexibility doesn't introduce more noise into the system, so it's hard to understand what's working well and leading to positive outcomes, and then what's not working well and leading to negative outcomes. If there's too much noise, too much variability, you can't understand what you need to fix.
Yeah, again, I'm hoping that this is what eliminates the variability.
Yeah.
Is that it's not something different, a different academic experience from room to room to room. That if you found something and it's good, you test it on, you pilot it with students and it was well received and engaging, then share it with everybody else, as we just talked about in the department process, and let's institutionalize it, let's put it into our curriculum.
Yeah.
But I think also it gets teachers, kind of in the same mindset when they are choosing supplemental materials. They all have the same guidelines where, it's not left up to some nebulous thing to, it's almost like a checklist, that they can go through and go, is it this, is it this, is it this? And if they have no doubt, I think it gives them a little bit more confidence in using materials too. And to your point too, Sharon, and I'm glad you clarified, Dr. Walsh, that as a department, they gather and go over these things before they put them forward. So the collaboration is there, which I think is important too. As a department, they have to discuss and figure out, is this good? Is this going to get us where we want to be with this little piece in the curriculum? Because I anticipate it being those little pieces. It's not giant, it's not textbooks. It's those little things that add to and enhance what we're already using, what we've already approved. So I like this policy a lot.
I thought of one more question. In terms of how it relates to UDL, Universal Design for Learning. So for instance, are those piece is already going through the curriculum committee, or is that part of the UDL process? Like finding a video that explains the chapter on bees constructing a hive, and then finding a visual representation of it so that students with various abilities can access the same information. So would that video need to go through this, and do we already have video components for some things? Or
Yeah,
what's going
so
on with
again,
that?
I can't speak to what's been approved before I came, but we now have procedures and processes and sort of regulations about these things so that
Okay.
we can stand behind our teachers when they made curriculum choices and put things in front of kids.
So those UDL pieces are already being worked on in another.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and we could get really, really granular with this, and I don't think that's where I want to be headed with the policy. I'm talking about those
Independent.
spur of the moment.
I found this cool thing.
Interesting thing I'd like to share with the students, or this particular story, or this news clip. Give them some guardrails, give them some suggestions on how to vet it to make sure it's going to be appropriate and well received. I'm not imagining that any of those will end up in curriculum council because they're just spontaneous. They're spur of the moment and timely.
Right.
With where we were in our curriculum at that point in time.
Right.
And on the other hand, there could be, a new release of a video that does a better job than any other previous version that they want to use.
Okay.
Those we would definitely see at curriculum council.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, and again, stating that is the second reading.
Yes.
For that policy, just to remind everybody. So, at this time, we are open for public comments on any item. Okay. Board comments. Mr. McGregor.
I would like to say congratulations to the students, the graduates especially, for this year, and it's an exciting time coming up on Thursday. Also, a thank you to the admin, the teachers, the staff of the district, everyone who's put in the time to get us all here. It's a lot of moving pieces. That it's a miracle that things actually do come to an end each school year, and if it wasn't for you guys, and it wouldn't run so smoothly, so I appreciate it. And everyone have a good summer.
That's what I was going to say. Congratulations to all the students and the families. You all hung in there. For all of our teachers and our staff and our administration and all the personnel. We really appreciate you because you're really what makes the district the district. It's not a bunch of buildings. It's all the people. So thank you and enjoy your summers.
Got one more week. We're back.
One more week.
We are back one more week.
We're back one more week.
I have one question to the solicitor. Tonight, there was some information shared that I know can be shared with the public, and another reason of holding out the general fund budget resolution and the homestead resolution is there could be some changes if some things come out. Could you explain to the public where we're standing right now with the CLR, which is the common level ratio, and from what I understand, over 75% of the school districts in the area are in the same situation?
Yes, that's accurate. So just to briefly introduce myself, my name's Lee Delacour. I am filling in for Rebecca Hall tonight. One of my areas of expertise is property tax assessment litigation, so it made sense for me to address this subject. And it's a subject that the board is fairly familiar with, but a refresher seems appropriate, and it does make sense to provide these comments for the benefit of the general public as well. And one of the big questions is, how does assessment litigation impact the budget and funding in light of the fact there have been some major developments in this particular field? And some of these concepts are a bit difficult to understand without some education, so I'm going to try to put this into layman's terms. But back in 2022, there was a fairly high-profile lawsuit that ended up making the Post-Gazette and other news sources on multiple occasions regarding the common level ratio. And for those who don't know what the common level ratio is, it's effectively a tool that's used in assessment litigation to basically arrive at the average amount of appreciation a property experiences from one year to the next. It's a tool that's necessary to determine what a fair assessment is for a property. So for a number of years, that ratio was effectively stagnant. For about 5 years, that ratio did not really move at all, which prompted a lawsuit against Allegheny County, which essentially argued, look, we know real estate values go up year after year. How can you put forth the argument that the average rate of appreciation is effectively zero and that properties haven't appreciated? A court agreed. The county looked at its coding practices for determining the common level ratio, determined they were flawed, and the common level ratio fell through the floor. The result of that has been commercial property owners are using the common level ratio effectively as a tax loophole to lower their assessments. The problem with the common level ratio is it really captures appreciation for residential properties. The problem is when you apply it to commercial properties, it creates this fiction or this illusion that commercial properties have been going up in value year after year. The truth is that really hasn't been the case since the COVID-19 pandemic. For office buildings, for example, you've seen this shift in work culture. More people have embraced hybrid work models. More people are working from home. And malls and strip malls have kind of lost their value since more people are using online retailers like Amazon and such. And what this has done is it has significantly shrunk the commercial tax base, not just for Bethel Park, though it has done significant damage here in Bethel Park, but throughout the entire county. And there is a independent publication called the Allegheny Institute for Public Policy. They published a fairly educational article back on February 12th of this year called Allegheny County Taxable Assessed Value Falls in 2025. It's worth reading, but they mention how in 2025, Allegheny County as a whole saw its commercial tax base shrink by over $1 billion in assessed value, which is significant. So how has this impacted school districts? Well, they have seen their commercial tax bases shrink, and as you're aware, when it comes to generating revenue, there are really only two things that help determine revenue: your tax base and your tax rate. And when a tax base shrinks, there are very few tools in a school district's arsenal to account for that. As a result of this shrinking commercial tax base, we did see a number of school districts increase their millage rates last year. There are 43 school districts in Allegheny County. 32 out of 43 of them increased their millage rates. That's 75% of them. So 3 out of 4. For those that didn't, they involved rural school districts that don't really have very many commercial buildings, so weren't as directly impacted by what's happening. And then you had others with rainy day funds that have since been depleted over the past year. Allegheny County's kind of acknowledged this problem themselves. They went 12 years without raising taxes. This year, Allegheny County raised their taxes 36%, which is unprecedented. So there's a problem. It's a problem that needs to be addressed, and it's a problem that's resulted in a significant amount of litigation recently. There are 3 lawsuits right now that are attempting to address this problem. One is from Pittsburgh School District, and 2 are from private homeowners. One is a very nice woman who lives in Woodland Hills School District, and another is a gentleman who lives in Lawrenceville, who are pointing out that they are not being treated fairly relative to their neighbors, and have also highlighted in their complaints the unfair treatment homeowners are receiving in light of what's going on with commercial properties. There is a way to address this commercial property tax assessment loophole that exists. Unfortunately, it can only be addressed through a countywide reassessment, which is what these lawsuits are looking for. The timeline for that is unfortunately somewhat of a mid to long-term timeline. The last time we went through this process, it took 6 to 7 years from the inception of the litigation to the end point to actually implement a countywide reassessment. But that's what we're looking at to kind of recoup some of these losses from commercial properties. And I've kind of been talking about things from a macro perspective for the county as a whole, just to give you some insight into what's going on with Bethel Park, just to kind of bring it home and contextualize the harm to this school district. We did take a look at some of the big commercial property assessment appeals that have occurred recently, and we did look at how much of the financial hardship from these appeals could be attributed to the change in the CLR. And basically, we looked at the CLR as it was in effect for 5 years, because I mentioned it was essentially stagnant for 5 years, and we looked at its change to what it is now, and we said, okay, how much did that have an impact on revenues? And our projections showed a loss of about $1.6 million in annual revenue, which is significant, especially when you consider the fact that, the value of the dollar goes down every year. There's inflation. You need to account for that. And when the tax base is actually shrinking, or at least the commercial tax base is actually shrinking, that places a lot of pressure on school districts and municipalities to budget, to balance their budgets when you have the county, which unfortunately is dragging its feet on implementing the obvious solution to this problem. So I wanted to explain how this litigation is impacting the budget and how it's something that the board needs to consider. And I also just need to highlight the fact there are numerous pending appeals now for big commercial properties like South Hills Village Mall that haven't been resolved yet. And there is potential refund liability here for the school district. You need to budget for that. You need to account for that. And it's something that does need to be considered when setting a millage rate and setting a budget. So if anyone else has any follow-up questions of that, that is essentially what I wanted to present here tonight. And
Well,
I have nothing.
this is something that's frustrated me for years, because the way this started was a lawsuit in Penn Hills by homeowners, by an attorney. I won't mention his name, but he represented these homeowners. And the whole argument was kind of meant to get public support that this is going to be a windfall for residential property owners. And in turn, it really turned out to be a windfall for commercial property owners. And I prefer to use the language, rather than just a reduction in commercial real estate value, is a transfer of tax liability from commercial property owners to residential property owners. That's what's happening.
That is a very accurate description of what's happening. So when the commercial tax base shrinks, the only option to make up that lost revenue is to increase the millage rate, and homeowners are going to unfairly bear the burden of that. So it is a shifting of tax liability from commercial property owners over to residential property owners. And the frustrating thing is, this very argument was raised back in 2022. So the court was aware that making this change could have this effect. And when Pittsburgh Public Schools initiated their lawsuit in early 2024, they mentioned, look, this transfer is a process. It doesn't happen immediately, but we can see what's happening. It's not that far in the distant future, and unless we course correct now, it's going to hurt homeowners year after year, because these adjustments have to occur year after year to account for the transfer and the shift of tax liability. So highly frustrating, very easily foreseeable. It was foreseen, and unfortunately nothing has been done yet to course correct by the county, which is unfortunate, but here we are.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Part of our reason for having conversations, you understand, is next week when we vote on our budget and we propose a tax increase, you can understand where and why this tax increase is coming forward. We lost $1.5 million in assessment value to one large corporate holding here within our community, and it has significantly impacted our school district budget. So we just wanted to, again, express where the school board is coming from and what we're dealt with to get a balance, or a budget that meets the needs of this school district and our community. So thank you, sir. Anybody else? Thank you. Yes, Doc.
If I may, there's a rumor out there that Memorial does not have school tomorrow because of a water main break. It has been corrected. Memorial has school tomorrow.
Okay, you heard it from the boss's mouth. Yeah. Now, we'll see how many people are paying attention to our meeting tonight when no one shows up. All right, we only have, what, 2 more days of school? We're done the 12th?
Yes.
We have graduation on Thursday night, right, Mr. Villani? What time?
7 p.m.
Can you get in if you're late?
You can come in. You're going to miss the procession at 7 p.m. exactly. But
Okay.
yes, priority seats at 5:15. Gates open. General public 6:15. 7 o'clock. We walk on that field.
Thank you very much, sir. And we meet next week with our final board meeting for this school year.
That's correct. One of the things that we were tossing around this afternoon, wanted to get the board's opinion about adding a motion to next Wednesday or next Tuesday's agenda, authorizing the administration to extend binding offers of employment for teachers that we interview after June 17th, but prior to the August 1st or August 5th, I forget the date, next board meeting. We have quite a number of teachers that we'll be interviewing and hiring. If we wait until they're approved in August, then the 60-day hold applies to these individuals, potentially meaning we wouldn't see our new teachers until mid to late October. If, on the other hand, you can authorize a motion to give the administration permission to extend these offers, they could then resign and start that 60-day clock once the interviews are completed.
Sure. So we'll see that next week, or you want it tonight?
And these are for positions that we've already voted to approve opening?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yep.
So we'll see that next week?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, motion? Second? All in favor, aye? Aye. Good night. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Mr. Borland?